So today I want to talk to you about the making, and when I walked in, you began to talk. Archbishop said something. I said he's getting in my message. Again, God says things more than one time. I want to talk about the making and the breaking of a prophet. The making and the breaking of a prophet. Now I feel like I'm the least among you in this area. I'm just going to give you what God gave to me. I'm going to Samuel, the book of 1 Samuel. And the first thing I want to say, who can make a prophet? Who can make a prophet? We got some anointed folk up in here. Who can make a prophet? And the answer is no one can make a prophet except God. I know people try to make people be stuff. But look at your neighbor and say, you cannot make a prophet. Now, I know that term make can be ambiguous, and we'll get into it. But God makes a prophet in, 1 Samuel, first chapter, is it the 27th verse? I think it's, Hannah is speaking and said in the New Living Translation, I asked the Lord to give me this boy, and he has granted my request. Now I'm giving him to the Lord, and he will belong to the Lord his whole life. And they worship the Lord there. I don't know if Hannah was that spiritual or astute in the things of God, or as I was years ago in the prophetic, but I believe that the Spirit of the Lord, because she prayed at the altar, at the altar where Eli the priest was, and prayed in earnest. And I believe that God, because of her sincere heart, heard her and used her as he did Mary to bring the Christ child. I believe that our parents, I know a lot of our parents were in the world. They didn't even know what kind of child they were birthing. But God said, in you is a prophet. They may not know it. They may not even care about it. But as long as God said it, a lot of us would have been dead because our parents' circumstances are aborted. But because God makes a prophet, he brings it to pass. Do we have anybody agree with me today? God, I need you to lift your hands if you're a prophet and say, God made me a prophet. God makes prophets. And so thus the story, Hannah for some reason knew that this baby, she asked God for him, but she didn't have to keep her word and say, I'm going to give him back to you. It was a good thing she did, because anyone that tries to block what God is doing, he has a way of getting around you. So when people, as she said, people ignore you, they hurt you, they can do all of that, but they can't block what God has already created. Doesn't matter what denomination you're in. It doesn't matter what economic level. If God called you to prophesy, he knows how to get around all the stuff. And so here it is that the making of the prophet was in her womb. It was before he was in her mother's womb, in the mother's womb. And so it is with us. God himself makes the prophet. Jesus said, I give gifts to the church. That was significant. We always say that, but that was significant to me that he said to the church. I give gifts to the church. And it'll come up again because he talked about protocol. He said, I give them to the church. A lot of prophets don't like the church. If you don't like the church, you don't like God. Because these are his gifts that he gave to the church. And sometimes the church don't like prophets. So somebody doesn't like God. The prophet don't want to be in the church, and the church don't sometimes want the prophet. Somebody is in error. If Christ gave it, can you take it away? I'm just talking. Just talking. Some people are curious, like, what she got to say? Just listen. God makes the prophet, he creates the prophet, his own wisdom and for purpose. Why would you want to be a prophet with no purpose? It's for the church. Then people will ask the question, well, what is the church? Well, go figure it out. Christ died for the church. Sometimes we understand things, and then when we get on another side, we act like we got bad understanding. If he died for the church, then why we say, what is the church? The church is us, the born-again believers. Am I right? So prophets are from God, for God. That's my second point. They're from God, for God. 28 again, and God, the 28th verse, and God had set, of course, in Corinthians, God had set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily, secondarily. You don't like that word, huh? God has set some in the church. First, apostles. Secondarily, prophets. Thirdly, teachers. After that, miracles. Then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities of tongues. So God gave Samuel, whose name meant I asked the Lord. So he gave I asked the Lord to Hannah and Elkanah, and she gave him back to the Lord. She gave him back. They are from God, for God. Get it, we'll see. He gave first apostles, and I never looked at it. I don't actually see bishops in here. You like that? He said, well, it's still a seed. We need to get to the root of it. But I'm with you. I love you. You got to let that go. Because you still second. Come on. First apostles. I'm teasing. You know I'm teasing. I'm teasing. It's the scripture. I'm trying to run through this because Archbishop wanted kids. First apostles, and the Lord is so orderly. For an apostle established churches, order. So God said, I won't have it out of order before you prophesy. Thus, the reason for the lineup. First the apostles, then the reason for the lineup, so that there'll be order in his house. Amen. So they gave him back to him. The next thing, so we're talking about God. Prophets are for God, from God, for God. He made them. He made us. The next thing I want to focus in on is the breaking. My title is The Making and the Breaking. The word make in the sense I'm using it, is created. God did it. We understand there is a making that we may refer to, which is processing. So I could have said the making and the making, or the creating and the making, but I chose to call it the breaking.